Reading in a foreign language is one of the many pleasures I can experience thanks to the fact that I speak different languages. I love books and languages, so I never asked myself if reading in the language I was learning was a good idea or not. Luckily, it turns out that reading is a great way to improve your language skills, and today I'll explain why. There are several benefits of reading as a way to improve your language skills. One of the most obvious advantages of reading in your target language is, of course, that it is a great way to learn new words. Books, articles, and other reading material are endless sources of words to learn and phrases to memorize. The more you read, the more your vocabulary grows, and by now I'm sure you know that this is one of the most important tasks for any language learner. This leads me to another related benefit. When you pick up new vocabulary while reading, it is always surrounded by other words and ideas. In books and articles, words and phrases are never isolated. Learning vocab with context is much more effective than trying to memorize single words. So, reading is a powerful tool for encountering new vocab in its natural habitat and actually remembering it. A third benefit I should mention is that reading gives you a lot of exposure to natural and useful language. In many books, short stories, and articles, the same terms come up over and over again. According to the famous Latin phrase repetita iuvant, which means repeating things helps, this frequent exposure is the key to memorization. Of course, you should not limit yourself to real material, as listening resources are also extremely important for building your core language skills. But the thing is that in order to master a language, you need a lot of exposure. I mean it, a lot. So it would be a shame not to take advantage of all the repeated exposure books and articles can provide. I'm a huge advocate of focusing on speaking as a way to learn languages. But let's be honest, speaking is not always possible. Of course, you can talk to yourself in your head, something to try even if it sounds weird, but in order to have meaningful, interesting conversations, you do need a speaking partner. Also, sometimes speaking is not possible because it would disturb others around you. For example, when you are commuting to work on public transportation. On the other hand, whenever and wherever, you can almost always open a book, a tablet, or an e-reader to immerse yourself in your target language. And if you are a bit of an introvert, reading might suit you better than speaking, especially if you are in the early stages of your language journey. Speaking of your language journey, at some point you might experience the so-called intermediate plateau. Many learners get stuck because no matter how much they speak a language, they feel they aren't improving enough. One of the most powerful strategies for overcoming the intermediate plateau is reading a lot about a variety of subjects. I remember when I was learning French how much progress I made just by reading French newspapers every day. Conversations are great for learners because they are often very repetitive. You talk more or less about the same things using the same words and phrases. But one inconvenience is that with spoken interactions, you do not get the chance to cover many subjects and work towards an advanced level. When you read, on the other hand, you can expose yourself to all the subjects and vocab you want, including the more specialized ones that wouldn't necessarily come up in a conversation. When you learn a language, there are 4 core language skills you need to acquire: understanding what you hear, speaking, understanding what you read, and writing. It goes without saying that the more you read, the better you get at understanding what you read. Also, it comes as no surprise that when you read a lot, you improve your writing skills. Every time you read something, you are passively learning how the language is structured, how ideas are expressed, and how grammar rules are applied. But if you think about it, these activities are also extremely beneficial for your listening and speaking skills. I already talked about how reading helps you grow your passive and active vocabulary. So the time you spend reading is not only contributing directly to your reading skills, but also to your overall language skills. The last perk I'd like to mention is about the language immersion you can experience thanks to reading. Nowadays, we are lucky enough to be able to access the online edition of many foreign newspapers and a variety of other foreign language reading material. This means that it's quite easy to immerse yourself in your target language, even if you never leave home. Reading for as little as 10 minutes a day can not only give you the immersion and exposure you need, but also help you build a connection to the language. I often hear people say, I can't learn this language because I won't have the opportunity to use it in my day-to-day life. But if these people would read a bit every day, they would think differently and build a true connection with their target language. Almost like you'd get to know a friend. I really hope my video convinced you that reading is a good way to learn a language and to improve your language skills. Take care and happy learning!
If you learned something new from this video, give it a thumbs up. Then, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. Have a look around our channel for more hacks and tips. And if you're watching on another social media platform, like or follow our page. See you next time.